Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Dave here, JDH Reptiles. Today we're going to talk about setting up a temporary, or really could even be just a nice little hatchling enclosure on the cheap. And when I say cheap, I don't mean like we're going to set up some janky little setup that can cause a fire or kill your animal. Just cheap as in price-wise. We're going to try and narrow it down to the best bang for your buck. If you're just getting started, or if you go to an expo and you really want to pick up an animal and you don't have the space, or you're trying to make something work for a week or a month or whatever, we're going to dive into that. But before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to ARS Caging, rodent racks, which we purchased from them, snake racks, which we purchased from them. They're fantastic. Make sure you give those guys a shout. arscaging.com. Let's jump into today's video. Alright guys, so here we go with our DIY ball python hatchling enclosure. A few things you're going to need here. You're going to need water dishes. You're going to need a hide. I'd recommend a hide. You don't always need one, but they help, especially if you got a fresh hatchling, you know, like a couple months old. Going to help. You need bedding of sorts. This is a 6-quart Sterilite container. You're going to need a heat mat, and you need a thermostat. So this setup, the way I have it here, can probably be done for right around $200. And I know it seems like a lot for an enclosure, but you can cheapen it here and there. But I think this is the safest way to go. And actually with this setup, you could do 2 animals as long as you have a second enclosure. You know, you can get these at your local, you know, Walmart, Meijer, whatever you've got. I think they're like $5 or $6. They come with a lid. The thermostat we'll talk about. This is a 2-channel, so you can do 2 different enclosures for that. So a couple $100, you can easily set up 2 animals. If you do this on a bigger scale, we'll get into that in the end, but you'll want to talk about looking at a rack system, but this is to get you by. Okay, so what we've got here, again, Sterilite 6-quart tub. Then you're going to need bedding. You can use cocoa husk, whatever works good in your area. You can even use just paper towel. I got 2 here. I double them up. They fit perfectly inside that bin. You want a hide? Here's a hide. This is from Reptile Basics. It's one of their small hides. I put the hide on the hot side, so the hide will go right there. Water dishes. I prefer ceramic flat bottom dishes. They don't tip over as easy, so they don't make a mess. These ones, I get these from the dollar store. They work great in a pinch. I use a bunch of these with our sea serpent racks. The problem is they're light and they flip over real easy and they make a mess. So if you can find a flat bottom ceramic bowl, this is what I would use. Just a small one. Animal doesn't need to soak in it, they just need to drink out of it. So you got that. Your enclosure is all set. Depending on where you live, you may or may not need to put 1 or 2 vent holes in the front or the back to help with whether it be air circulation or humidity control. Here in Michigan, I would probably just leave it like this and put your lid on it. That is all you need for a ball python enclosure. Now for heating purposes, this is from Exoterra. I believe ZooMed sells them as well. This is just a real small heating element. I think this is like a 3-inch. It doesn't say on it, but I believe it's like 3 or 4 inches. And this actually just needs to be placed under the hot side. So again, here it goes, set right under your warm side. And then what you'll do is you need a thermostat. So you could go a bunch of different ways with your thermostat, but you have to have your heat mat on a thermostat. You can't shortcut it. This heat mat will get too hot, even this small one, and it will burn your animal, if not melt through this plastic container. So there are a lot of thermostats on the market. You can go all the way up to the high end, which is this. This is a Herpstat. This actually is a Herpstat 2. So it has 2 different channels. You can plug in 2 different heat mats and run 2 different enclosures on this one unit. It's about 200 bucks. Okay, Inkbird makes a thermostat. That I think you can find on Amazon for around $100. I think they actually have some in the $50 range even. So you could go that route. The ones I highly recommend staying away from are the ones that are made for germination, because those, if they fail in the on position, which means there would be no temperature control and your heat mat will just go to full blast, and that's where you can kill your animal. So we want to avoid that at all costs. Using a reptile thermostat like this, you could also get like a VE 100. I think those are like $100 or $89. Like I said, at Inkbird, you can use those, but they're all made to shut off in the off position if there's a failure. You'll be better off having no heat going to your animal until you catch it than you will having too much heat to your animal if you don't catch it. So, back to the thermostat. I recommend Herpstat. I know they cost more, but these, in my opinion, are the best. And my entire collection, as well as my heater in my room, runs off a Herpstat. So you take your Herpstat, you'll plug your heating element into the back of the Herpstat. Then your Herpstat will come with a probe. Okay, it's a metal tip probe. You'll plug this into the back where the same output as the heating element. Now here's the important part. Your probe goes on the heat pad between the heat pad and the enclosure. Okay, so what I recommend doing is I would take a piece of packaging tape and I would actually tape the heating pad and the probe together. So put a piece of packaging tape on your probe, tape it down directly onto the heat mat, and then you set that on top of the enclosure, just like that. Okay, you don't want this inside with the animal. It just needs to be between the heating element and the enclosure. And then you can go into here. It'll turn on once you power it up, and you can set the settings for it. For a ball python, you want your heat set at 90 degrees. So you want to try and get a heating hot spot of 90 degrees. And then I put all these at dimming. And what that does, it's like a dimming switch for a light. It'll turn the power up and down as necessary instead of turning it on and off. So it kind of keeps a little bit of power going through the heating element to keep adjusting the temperatures up and down, just a little bit. And I think it keeps it a little more consistent. So those are the main things you need for a little ball python enclosure. Especially here in Michigan, especially in the winter time, it is very hard to keep your heat correct and your humidity correct in a glass fish tank. And I highly recommend against them. I know some people say this is too small. They make these in other sizes. If you feel a bigger one will be better. If you want to put clutter in here or vines or whatever, that's up to you. That's going to be more for you than for the animal. Just remember, anything that goes in here needs to be able to be cleaned and disinfected regularly. And all that clutter and stuff, like those vines, need to be pulled out, washed, cleaned, and disinfected. This is easy. You take the hide out, you can put some soapy water, clean that. Take the bowl out, soapy water, clean that. You throw away these, you wipe out, clean the enclosure, you put some new paper towel in, refill your bowl with fresh water, put your clean hide back in, and put your animal in there. They'll be just fine in here. As long as the temperature is correct, they will do well, they will eat well, and this is more than sufficient. But again, today's video was based around this. Main reason for making this video, I'll be honest with you, is I've I've been a part of this ball python group for the local people here in Michigan, and they just started a new chat on Facebook. It's great. I love being able to help people out, answer questions and whatnot. I see a lot of people are having issues with either humidity or heat. Their animals aren't eating. It's cold here in Michigan right now. It's like 20 degrees outside. And a lot of people use fish tanks. I would love, love, love to see this community change the standard and get away from fish tanks. I know like Exoterra has their glass tanks that I think are great for like geckos. But again, I don't think they're great for ball pythons. I know the Marty made enclosures with the little snap down tops and whatnot. People use those, but the glass, in my opinion, is so hard to use, especially in a cold weather climate like Michigan. A poor insulator, I should say, of heat. You have almost an impossible time keeping your humidity high enough. People, this is the way. And again, you can get these in all different sizes. I know some people buy those big black plastic totes with the yellow top on them, and they'll cut out the front of them and put like a plexiglass window. Those are great too, but again, it's just a bigger version of this. So I see people who would do those setups, and they're like, I would never put my animal in a tub. That is a tub. It's the same thing. The larger you go, the more clutter you could put in it, or whatever you feel makes you more comfortable. But in the end, it starts this design right here. This is what will help your ball python eat successfully, grow successfully, have well sheds, good sheds. It'll maintain your humidity good. And again, if you don't think this is big enough, that's fine. Go to the store and buy a larger one. But this is just a cheap way and a very effective way at keeping your ball python healthy, keeping them eating, getting them to grow. And you can keep multiples of these. If you have like a little bookshelf or something, I've seen people take these and put them on a bookshelf. They'll actually buy heat tape, and they'll run heat tape on the bookshelf, or they'll buy one of those like metal racks or whatever, or those plastic racks, and they'll put them on there, and then they'll take all these little tubs and they'll slide them in the shelf and have them sitting over top the heat. That's fine. But this should become the standard, whether you like it or not, in my opinion. And again, this channel is based on my opinion. Okay, I try and give you as much info as I can. I try and be very open and honest with you guys. My opinion is this setup, going to racks, etc., should be the standard for ball python care. Unless you are in an area or a country where you have higher heating all throughout the year, and you can keep your humidity right in a glass tank. Remember, fish tank, that is what that is. It's not a reptile tank, it's a fish tank. They should not be used, in my opinion. So this is cheaper, this is more effective, this will keep them happier, healthier, eating well, etc. So $4 or $5. These little hides are like $5. The little heating pad here, I think these are like 10 or 12 bucks, maybe $15. Your biggest expense is going to be your thermostat, but you must have a thermostat. I always recommend getting one that's got 2 channels or 3 channels or 4 channels. That way you can run more enclosures off the one thermostat, because you just have one plug into the wall, and then like this one, like I said, it's got 2 channels, so you can see the 2 different outlets there. So 2 different heating elements can go on this one thermostat. I have a Herpstat 6. That means I can put 6 different heating elements on just one thermostat. So those all cost money, but my point being is, if you buy a name brand thermostat, the chances of having a failure is a lot lower. And if you do have a failure, it'll fail in a safe mode, which is power off, and it'll keep your animals alive instead of overheating them. So I've ranted enough, but in the long run, I hope this helps. I hope this will get all of you guys to take $20, $50, whatever it's going to take, and start getting your enclosures set up properly for your animals so they're happy, healthy. these are sufficient, people. They do the job, and they do the job well. So, hopefully it helps. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. I will, and I always do answer all questions, all comments. Thanks again for stopping by. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video. Whether you like it or not, like the video, please. I appreciate it. But guys, really, I just want to see you guys thrive in the hobby. I want to see your animals thrive. I want to hear you guys doing well, not being concerned about the health of your animals, not being concerned about them not eating. And I wanted to put this video together. Hopefully it'll help you guys be able to maybe change your ways a little bit, get your animals into a better setup, and it'll alleviate a whole bunch of stress. It'll make this hobby much more enjoyable for you and for your animals. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment. Hit me up on Facebook or Instagram if you have any questions. As always, I appreciate your support. Until next time, we'll see you on the next video.